kind of like I don't know if I'm rushing into this video or not, but yeah, I mean it's the big man's birthday, and I guess I didn't really make a video like reacting to his death, which it's crazy to think that it's been pretty much almost a month since then. Time moves. It's been moving very fast as of late, or I've been recognizing it's been moving very fast as of late. My own perception, and um, I guess I don't know how I really want to word this, but I thought maybe this was, in some respect, this was like the appropriate time for me to make, not just about his death, but because it's his birthday, and maybe just talk about him in general. And I don't know, like I guess I can first start with his like usually if you know I guess these sorts of things like death kind of like amplifies things for sure, certainly. But I think I was talking about it on a stream or maybe like in a One Piece chapter review. Like how I reacted when I first saw the news, and I was kind of like I was stunned, right? And I hope what I'm about to make makes sense. What I'm about to say makes sense. But when you're stunned, like it's like palpable. Really, there's two reactions. I feel like one is like palpable, like you can feel like the actual hit, like the actual stun, right? Like obviously and if you're talking about like emotional stunning, like it's not that you actually legitimately get hit with a fucking bat, right? But you can, even though that doesn't happen to you, you can still sort of feel like that impact, right? The second type of stunning is more so, I think what I experienced when what was it, that Thursday when the news broke, right? Yeah, it was a Thursday night, and then I think it spilled into a Friday. It was more like it's just a haze for me. It was like a like very weird. There's celebrities that I've grieved over, and Toriyama is no different, right? Of course, I grieved over him. But I've gone through whatever emotional process it is to kind of like digest the fact that he's gone, but at least in physical form. But um, um, it was a very weird sort of reaction on my case, right? Because I not necessarily that it was kind of unexpected. In a way, it was kind of unexpected. Let me take that back. It was kind of unexpected because I remember like there's been celebrities that I've actually like shed tears over. Toriyama's no different. Kobe, Nipsey, those are the two that come to mind because those are the ones that kind of stick out to me. Norm Macdonald. When I heard of his death at the time, I wasn't too big a fan, and it was only after his death that I grew to love that man. And but Toriyama has always been that person that I've. He still is a person that I revere. Like that I idolize. That I owe a lot of my joy in life to. Right, and I was thinking about like why I was reacting the way I did, where like I was like I stayed stationary. I stayed stationary in my bed, and like I worked the next day. I remember, but I was just my concentration was just like it wasn't just on Toriyama. Like when someone dies, like you're thinking about the person, and I was thinking about Toriyama. It's not that I wasn't thinking about him, but I was also focusing like on his work and like this disbelief, right? I guess it's more so maybe what I'm saying like in this video in the last 3 or 4 minutes is like very ironic or paradoxical or hypocritical. Maybe not hypocritical, but it's very nonsensical, or it's opposite of something that I've said earlier. But I there's kind of this disorientation on my part where I was just like, what the hell is going on? Like I guess I was more in a state of confusion or just like damn than I was like in pure sorrow and despair. And even after I was able to shed a tear or two for that guy, like that feeling of sorrow and despair didn't really linger too long. And I was so like I was asking myself like why that is happening, or why that is the case. And a month later, I still haven't figured out the answer to that question, right? Because like obviously like with all the people that you see on Twitter like drawing like tribute art and everything, and then they're saying like Toriyama changed my life, Dragon Ball changed my life, like I'm crying real tears now. I completely understand all of that. But for everyone like who's watching this video who's been like a long time sub on this basically like non-existent YouTube channel, right? Like, or who follows me on Twitter, everyone knows that Dragon Ball is like my favorite franchise, fictional franchise at least. Like if you talk about top 5 hobbies or maybe top 5 things that define me as a person, probably Dragon Ball is in that category, right? So you would think that the creator of such a thing, it's not just like enjoyment, like enjoying like what like just it's not just about manga and anime. I'm talking about like life, like behavior, philosophies, the way you think about things, right? You think that the creator of like the passing of such a creator would have a more visceral reaction from me, but it didn't. And I was thinking to myself, is it because like I got jaded with Dragon Ball Super? Everyone knows like my general dislike for Dragon Ball Super. Was it because like I was frustrated with Toriyama at the time that he was kind of like I didn't think that what he was putting out was good or not? Maybe that's why it's jaded my perception of him, and that wasn't it either. And I say all that to say like I still don't have the answer, but what I have come to realize is that I don't think my reaction or the way that I was trying to process his death was any less or was any more what's the word it wasn't wrong for me to react the way that I react, the way that I did. And I think the reason why is because there were 3 or 4 people, I think. I forget if I'm remembering 3 of them. I don't remember if there was a 4th, but there's 4 people that when they heard of his death, like they kind of were like, "Huh, that happened, right?" Or that kind of just that kind of happened, right? Like it happened, and I'm still thinking about it. Damn, and that's what I'm saying. Like when a person dies, there's like this deep sense of loss and despair and sorrow. But with such a person influential to my life, it was like, huh, he's gone. But it's almost like this inquisitive, like, it's not not accepting it. I don't think it's a case of denial in my case. It could be, but I don't think that's what it is. I think it's more so like this state of confusion that has just lingered. That some days, like, I'm thinking about him for like an hour or so. Some days I'm thinking about it for 2 seconds and it goes away, right? But I've noticed at least like every single day I've thought about Dragon Ball and Toriyama, and since then, and really thought about Dragon Ball and Toriyama pretty much every day of my life. Not every day of my life. I mean, every day of my life since I first laid eyes on a Dragon Ball episode, which I don't even remember how young I was or when that even happened. I can't even recall like my earliest memory of Dragon Ball maybe is I don't even remember like where I was when I saw Goku turn into a Super Saiyan during the Toonami, like in that old Toonami dub. I don't know. Maybe I vaguely remember. But I can tell you this. One of my earliest memories of Dragon Ball, or of DBZ really, was when it was the episode. There's that stretch where Piccolo fights Cell, 16 fights Cell. Cell is trying to absorb 17, right? And I remember Cell at that time, like I made a video on this too called "The Use of Fear in Dragon Ball," which I think I'll use this video to talk about like Toriyama's writing style a little bit as well. But there's this episode, I think it was the episode right before 17 gets absorbed, where you see like he grabs 17 by the scruff of his like his scarf or neck or whatever, and he's grabbing him right like from the back of his neck, and then Cell then brings the tail down, and 17's trying to like resist it, right, like trying to push it back and stuff. And I remember like that really freaked me out. It scared me really. I was like, ugh, like it's uncomfortable and stuff. So I remember like the apartment that I was in with my fam, like it was in New York. So the TV was right here. So if this is the TV, right, and like this is the hallway, the way that I'm pointing towards me, like I was right here, and there was a wall, and I hid behind the wall. The TV was right here, and I was like watching, like just like peeking on some Chopper One Piece shit, and I that's one of my earliest memories of DBZ. But I say all that to say, I feel like even if that's not my earliest memory of DBZ or the first time, because I definitely watched DBZ before that, right? I knew who Frieza was for sure, right? Um, but so clearly, like I knew DBZ before that, but whenever that first, I think even though I can't remember the first times I laid eyes on any sort of like Dragon Ball product or merchandise or media or lore, whatever you want to call it, I can I'm pretty confident in saying ever since that day up until now, which is April 5th. In some respect, I've thought about Dragon Ball every single day, or Toriyama in some respect every single day since then. Whether it's for like an hour and I'm rewatching an episode, or even whether it's a millisecond where a character's head just pops in my head, or Toriyama's like some comment he made in an interview just pops in my head, and I think about it for like a millisecond, and then it goes away, and I don't think about it the rest of the day. Even like whatever the duration of me thinking about that, about his worlds, however long that duration is for a single day, I'm pretty confident in saying that it's always happened since that first time that I watched DB. And that to me is pretty special. That to me is pretty special. It makes me think about comments that people have made about Toriyama as a person. It makes me think about Toriyama's writing style in a way too. Because I've always loved the fact that Toriyama himself doesn't really consider himself like a professional writer, to be honest with you. And I've brought this up multiple times where like quote unquote professional writers, if that's what you want to call them. I mean, it is fair to call. I'm not saying that to diminish anyone's career or nothing like that, but well, at least when I use the word professional, I think about like a white collar job, suit and tie, like procedures and everything. And creative jobs have the liberty, they have the privilege of not doing that, which I think is great and awesome. It's still a job. I'm not saying it's not a job, but and they still are professional. I'm not saying they're not professional, but at least like the first image, like when someone says professional, is like suit and tie, gloves, clean, smooth, or like suave and slick and sleek, and all these like leather gloves and all this, like very classy and stuff, right? And not saying that Toriyama wasn't any of those things, but it's because of his consistent forgetfulness that made for whimsical storytelling, and that really made for interesting storytelling. And it really takes a true master to kind of like traverse that line, right? And I think that's really at the heart and soul of everything that I know about Toriyama as a person. It's about the paradoxical stuff. It's about the irony. It's about the things that don't make sense. It's about the things that you can't understand. I always felt like those were the things that define not just his stories or his character or his personality, just forget as a mangaka, as a person. I think it's a great way to live life, really. And I don't say that lightly. I actually truly believe that. I've always thought that, and you guys have heard me say this criticism and complaint many times if you guys have watched any of my streams. I always feel like people, when any story that I get now, or that I have the opportunity to like get my hands on, read, or experience, whatever it may be, watch, play a game, whatever it is, I always felt like that authors or writers or creators, they always try too hard to focus on the emotional aspect of the story, or the human aspect of the story, or the character aspect of the story, and they always focus like on things that are realistic. And I can enjoy those things, but I always felt like, especially in today's storytelling climate, there's too much of that. Especially like I live in America, so I see that every time like I turn on like an HBO show or whatever it is, right? Some clip on YouTube for some show that I might be interested in, and I watch it, and I can immediately tell, okay, yeah, this is the flavor of the scene. This is what the writer or the artist or whoever is trying to put in there, right? And I always loved Toriyama's straight shooter comments in interviews saying like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I'm not here to make emotional, sappy stories. I'm just here to make something fun and interesting. And I was thinking about it, and today, on April 5th, Herms98, who some of you may know as one of the, I don't know if you kind of want to call him the official translator for Kanzenshuu, but at least one of the most well-known translator, if not the most well-known translator for Kanzenshuu, which is, if you guys don't know what Kanzenshuu is, it's a very great Dragon Ball fan site. It's like a fan site database, really, for any and all things Dragon Ball. And I think if you watch my channel, you've definitely heard of them or know who they are. But he translates for them, and I bring that up to say, like, he put out a comment today or a tweet on like what he was feeling now that today is Toriyama's birthday, and he was saying like how Toriyama is always about writing something that is just off kilter a little bit, and he was saying like how when he last translated his comments for, I think it was the Sandland movie, or was it the Sandland anime? I don't remember, but I think it was for the Sandland movie where Toriyama at the end of his long comment, mangaka, they put out comments or for whatever it is, the movies they write or chapters they create, whatever it is. And he put out this comment, Toriyama said this comment at the end where he was like, go watch it, even if you don't want to, right? And, or even if you don't feel like it, or something like that. It was some comment like that. But Herms was saying like how much that like was so funny and just like so like strange, that off kilterness or that strangeness was really what brought drew him to Toriyama's works, really. And he was talking about, like, again, what I was saying earlier, like Toriyama's penchant to forget stuff, or like his lore conflicts and all these things, right? And then he said something that I think was pretty profound. If you strip storytelling stuff down to its bare components, whatever that component is, it has to stand on its own 2 feet and be interesting without all the other stuff that you make a story with. The concept or the idea or the merit, it has to be interesting in of itself. And that, to me, I'm tying this all back into what I was saying earlier about Toriyama kind of being this guy this writer who doesn't really conform to the things like, okay, I need to have character development. Even though there are some characters out of development. I don't need to make things emotional, even though there are emotional moments, right? He conformed to ideas of just having something interesting to him. And interesting is a very vague term, right? It can mean a bunch of things. It can mean something that's emotional. But I always appreciated Toriyama's efforts to make something that was interesting that was non-emotional, or something that isn't common. Because when things become common, they become generic and they become basic. And Toriyama, I think, was not too much about that. But again, I say all this to say that's the ironic part about this. And it's really, I think, irony. I've always said irony is like one of the greatest themes in Dragon Ball. Like, and I always bring out this example in an arc where Goku was meant to die from a heart virus, right? At the start of the arc, he gets medicine that saves him, and at the end of the arc, he dies anyway, And there's been comments about like how Goku or how Toriyama has said that he's written DB at least with like this sort of like opposite, ironic, paradoxical sort of wavelength, and to bring it back to like how Toriyama feels about like emotional things, yeah, he may not do that, but at the same time, he's created one of the most freaking tragic or like most painful backstories for at least for an anime and manga character ever in Future Trunks, right? Mentor's dead, Mother's the only one that's left alive, Father's dead, all his friends are dead, his whole timeline is fucked, right? I'm talking about pure Android's arc. Even Super, if you want to count that, since he has to go like desert his timeline, right? Most tortured character in DB, and there's only like I can really only say that maybe like Guts from Berserk probably has like a more like tortured or at least the very least it's on par of that, right? If not more. Guts is what I'm saying. So it's that sort of like oppositeness and paradoxical sort of nature that I think about while I'm writing this video, and I think about a whole bunch of other things too. I was saying like earlier, like there was 3 or 4 people that I was thinking about that kind of made this my reaction to his death a lot more not as soppy or as emotional as I thought it would be. And Herms was one of those four, but the other three were I mentioned this before too, like probably in a stream. Sakurai, or maybe in a One Piece chapter review. Sakurai, who's the creator of Smash Brothers, Tite Kubo, who's the creator of Bleach, and then Yusuke Murata, who's the creator of the creator of One Punch Man, the manga version, not the webcomic. He's not the original creator of One Punch Man. That's the creator named One ONE, but Murata is the artist, at least for the manga version of One Punch Man. And I knew I wasn't wrong in how I felt because those three had the same reaction I did, where they were kind of like, "Oh, he's dead," but it doesn't feel like he's dead, you know. And Murata was saying the same thing. He was like, "I don't really feel like he's gone," because for him, he was always like a star in the sky, right? And I was trying to decipher like what really that meant. I mean, of course, like at a very baseline value, you can, you know, you see stars in the sky as long as you're alive, right? Like it's not you kind of take it for granted. There's kind of like this constant presence in your life, right? And I think that is holding true for me, but on a more spiritual level, where it's almost like I feel his work has always been ingrained like into my what I believe in, my behavior, the way I think about things. So it's almost like even if he's dead, he's still right here, you know? And maybe that's why I haven't been as emotional as I thought I would be, you know? And I just think this whole everything that I've rambled on for like the last 20 minutes, whether it's like how not emotional I was, or this talk of like irony and paradox. I think back like to the day of like the day of his death when the news broke. And I remember I made a tweet where it was like, see, even though he died, and that was supposed to be like, obviously, like, there's a sense of loss there. But it was so ironic to me that I was able to laugh and have some good laughs. Maybe not like belly busting laugh. I don't think I had like a belly busting laugh or anything like that. But I was able to laugh like pretty nicely because of just some random tweets that I saw on my timeline. Fucked up jokes, family humor jokes, tame jokes, all these sorts of jokes that were just like coming like on my Twitter timeline. And for someone who was a gag artist who really loved comedy in Toriyama, I think that was kind of a sign, if you will. It was a sign, I think. And I don't know why, like, for me, some 8 billion people on this planet, like, why I was able to feel that way, but I just did. And it also makes me think about, and I made a tweet about this too, where it was like, I was thinking when Goku died, and people, I wasn't the only one that said this, other people said this too, but when Goku dies in the Androids arc, and how quickly he says goodbye, right? The fact that Toriyama just makes it like a 1-page sort of scene, right? Or 2 pages, whatever it might be. With Goku's appearance and then him leaving saying goodbye, right? I think about things like that too with everything that I've just said. It's quick, it's not emotional, and there's some humor behind it. And that was the same way that I think I felt about, which is probably why I felt like such like in a haze, as I was saying earlier, when the news broke on the 7th, right? On the 7th, I think, yeah, it was the 7th here in the United States. Let me just make sure I have that date correct. I don't want to get it wrong, but yeah, it was the 7th. And I think that there's something poetic and symbolic about that. And I don't know if I'll ever, like, at one point just go, like, have a period, like, maybe like an hour or two of, like, deep depression where it's just like, oh, fuck, Toriyama's really gone. That period may or may not come, right? But I think the reason I mentioned, like, all these jokes and everything was because, at least as of right now, I think the joy that I feel celebrating his life is overcoming however much sadness I felt when he was gone. Like I said, I shed a tear at some point for him, like a couple days later after that. But it's a very weird. It's been a very weird process of processing the news, if you will, the last month or so. And basically, ever since I came back from my Thailand trip to celebrate my friend's wedding, it's just been very tough in life in general. Like, work has been hard. I feel like I've been getting sick and I really need to schedule a doctor's appointment. Money is getting tight a little bit. Not too tight, but a little tight. And it's just been like, all this real life stuff has just been kind of like piling up for me. I've been working a lot too. And today was a day where I just felt at peace, you know, and things went well. You know, things went well. And the fact that it happened on this great man's birthday, I think is kind of like some sort of a sign. Well, I don't know what kind of sign it is, but it says something. And I also just, you know, I also think about just how like symbolic or fateful. Like I've become a big believer in fate the last 5 years or so. Maybe 4.5 really, but and I think about like how Toriyama dies in the year of the dragon from some sort of like, we don't know if it's a head injury, but some sort of head related scenario, which is, you know, Goku hit his head and he became a good guy, right? And it's those sorts of like facts or observations that I have that kind of, they dull the, if whatever pain I feel here, however or however intense that feeling is, or dull that feeling is, those senses of like wonder, if you will, or just like curiosity or amazement or interesting things, right, that are kind of superseding any sort of like emotional reaction, or painful reaction, I should say, or any sort of sadness, right? Those things that are sparking my mind rather more than my heart are the things that I think about when I think about Toriyama's life and his personality as a mangaka. So, and again, with the whole joke thing, I think it's funny today that his birthday today, he would have been 69 years old. You know, it's a lame joke, 69, but I still think it's kind of funny. You know, and I guess that's what I'm holding on to when I think about this man. It's comedy. It's comedy. It's the ability to make light of things that should not be made light of. You know, and I'm going back to Herms's comment. He was saying like, do not get so stuck up on the past or the future that you miss the present. Which I'm not sure if I can agree with when it comes to like writing a story and trying to stick with consistency, but I understand the bigger overall point in what he's trying to say. You just got to make something interesting and make it stand out somehow. But yeah, man, Kira Toriyama, dude. I don't know if this video is going to be enough to like express my overall thoughts or my overall feelings on what it's been like since March 7th, but I think more than that, more than any sort of like personal therapy or whatever you want to call it, I guess I just wanted to make a video celebrating the man's life, you know? Celebrating it and thanking him for making the world a better place, or as good a place as it could be, you know? But yeah, I know. It's crazy. There were days like I loved Toriyama. There were days I wanted to slap Toriyama upside the head because of some dumb, in my opinion, some decision he made in Super, or some decision that was made in Super, and I was almost like, damn, I love your hands-off approach, and I love that this makes interesting storytelling, but I hate that it conflicts with like this previous plot point and the original manga, things like that, and so it's always been like this interesting like relationship, even though he doesn't know who the hell I am, and he shouldn't know who the hell I am, but it's always like this wave of like I love this guy and I hate this guy, and I think about not I hate the guy, but you know what I mean. I'm frustrated with the guy, or I'm frustrated with the product that he's a part of, and that frustration I can just look back on it now and kind of laugh, kind of appreciate it really in a way too. I think being able to laugh at your own misery is a lesson that I think I've learned, that I've helped to realize, that I've been helped to realize because of Toriyama and how he makes light of things like in his own works. But to me, he'll always be a hero, an idol. He's still like he's some sort of presence in my life, and he's one of the greatest artists ever. Dragon Ball is one of the greatest things ever, and he has the uncanny ability to, in my opinion, make the coolest things ever designed in the history of humanity. If you ask me what the coolest thing humanity has ever made is, I will point you to like a Saiyan or Super Saiyan 1, 2, 3, and 4 easily. Like if you ask me like what are the coolest looking things that creativity or humanity has ever made, I will go to those things. Saiyans in general. That hair, the way he drew those eyes, the aura, the power, right? All of those things. To me, the coolest looking thing ever. And then on top of that, he was able to draw the nicest and the coziest things ever. Whether it's a slime from Dragon Quest, whether it's Poir from Dragon Ball, whether it's Fat Boo from Dragon Ball, whether it's Arale from Dr. Slump. His ability to draw cute things, adorable things, as well as to draw the coolest things ever, and everything in between. To draw scary things, to evoke fear in me, to evoke feelings of warmth in me, to evoke feelings of safety in me. Is unmatched, really. It's unmatched, and for that, he'll always exist in here. He'll always exist in here. And I guess in some respect, I'll always pray for him too, and his family. I don't know if I have anything else left to say, but I guess I'm trying to think if there's anything else like I have left to say, but I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts here for a second. I think the fact that I did this video off the cuff, I didn't write a fucking script, is like another symbolic thing, like how he wrote Dragon Ball. Planned things on the seat of his pants, right? So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I have anything left to say except happy birthday, Toriyama Sensei. The world loves you. We all love you. And this feeling of happiness and joy and safety that I have right now, I think is going to overcome however much pain I process in the future. And yeah, happy 69th birthday. That's, thank you for creating Dragon Ball, creating these amazing characters, and for giving me like a platform to just express myself like this. This channel would have never existed without DB. However terrible this channel is, it would never have existed without DB. DB is like it's the beginning and the end for me. Without it, I would have never found like all these other franchises. So in that respect, it's the beginning, but it's also the end for me in the sense that I don't think any other franchise will ever top it for me. And it's The reason for that is just because it's nothing concrete. It's nothing physical. It's nothing that you can. I mean, part of it is something that you can write like on a piece of paper and give as a concrete reason. But to me, the most special things are things like as I was saying at the beginning of the video, things that can't be explained, the inhuman, the things that don't make sense, the things that you can't put, like the things that you can't articulate. You know, the things that you can just feel, right? And I think Dragon Ball does that for me. I'll go and I'll look at a character, some artwork of a character. Goku riding a fucking F1 machine with his hands up, right? Saying like, yeah, let's go, let's win. Just seeing that photo, that illustration in and of itself, evokes something in me, something good inside me, you know? And that's special. That's special. And that's something that I will always continue to hold on to as long as I can. And hopefully for the rest of my life. So, I think I've gone 35 minutes now, 36 minutes really, talking about this. So, thank you, Toriyama Sensei. We all love you. And here's to more experiences and more adventures enjoying your work. And your presence, too. So, that's it for me. That's it for this channel. I'm not saying this is the end of the channel, CNZ3. But I'm saying that's it for this video. I think I've said everything I wanted to say. So, with that, I guess I'll just kind of leave this open-ended. Yeah, just tell me what you guys think. How are you guys still reacting after Toriyama's death? And, yeah, that's really about it. Hope this wasn't too emotional, but that's it. Don't really have anything else left to say. So, thank you guys, and I'll see you guys next time when I see you.